Welcome to Say More from Boston Globe Opinion. I'm Shirley Leung. This week, we bring you a special episode of Say More, our first live show from the Globe's inaugural Working Mothers Summit at the Newberry Hotel in Boston and sponsored by PNC Bank. For me, being a working mom can be really hard and sometimes lonely. But to be in a room with hundreds of others who are juggling work and family was energizing. As part of the event, I spoke to perhaps two of the hardest working moms in the Commonwealth, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu and Attorney General Andrea Campbell. My conversation with Mayor Wu was a sight to behold. Her 2-month-old baby was in her lap. You can actually hear Mira's cooing throughout our conversation. Also, early in our chat, you will probably notice a strong reaction from our audience when the mayor realizes the only way to keep Mira quiet is to nurse her while we talked. I gotta say, I've hosted a lot of events, but this was a first for me and perfectly encapsulates the high wire act of working moms. I told the mayor many of us can still remember when she was on the city council about 10 years ago, holding her son Blaze in her arms during public meetings. Now, Mira is getting the same treatment, attending a cabinet meeting and even traveling to D.C. for a congressional hearing. I asked the mayor to discuss her decision to work in public with her babies.
I would say that I think maybe this is something that resonates with some in this room too. Some of it was an intentional, conscious decision, and some of it, as is so much of the lifestyle of working parents, is just you're going to do what you have to do. And when I was on the council, and I'm going to finish this question and then get someone latched on. When I was on the council, it was, there really wasn't a lot of additional options. Both parents working. Daycare in City Hall didn't start until 4 months or 6 months old. And in that window between, there was just, you have to figure it out and make things happen. And there had been no other example before of how to do it. So, I am incredibly privileged and blessed to be able to have the flexibility to make choices that we all need to change policies so that every single working parent has. And I hope that by trying to break down the silos or the dividers between personal and professional, we realize how hard it is and can give the momentum to make those changes.
Right. A nursing break, a first. You're pretty good at this, huh? So I was just wondering, have you gotten any pushback?
My oldest son is 10 now, and having been the first city councilor to have a baby then, okay, we're all good. There was really no playbook of what to do, right? And even actually then in terms of other employees in City Hall, I tried to figure out what the usual situation was, how much time was there that any city employee would get. And we did not have paid parental leave at all back then. It's in some ways remarkable to see how much and remember and reflect on how much progress has happened in the last 10 years. Certainly every day we realize how much more there is to go, but 10 years ago at the city, state, and still at the federal level, there was no guarantee of paid parental leave in our city government. So I was very proud to write that ordinance. Too late for myself to use it at that point, but to ensure that city workers then would have the ability to finally stop building up their paid leave or their sick leave and disability medical leave in order to do something that is a basic fact of life and something that should be part of your dignified working conditions. To this day, we have now expanded it to nearly every city employee through collective bargaining. There's still one more contract that we're trying to incorporate, but it means for the very first time, even in the last 2-3 years, our teachers have guaranteed paid parental leave. Our police officers have guaranteed paid parental leave. And it ends up having a real impact in the types of leaders who are then sitting around the table making important decisions and delivering our services. For the very first time, we offered childcare as part of the police academy so that new recruits could include new moms and dads who otherwise wouldn't be able to sign up to fill the very important jobs that we need and that we need to reflect everyone in our community.
I mean, you yourself did not take leave this time, just like you didn't take leave in city council. So how do you encourage your city employees to take leave then?
I want to be clear because this has been a point of contention, and Shirley and I have had conversations about why when someone, when a woman in a job has some news happen, why is the focus immediately what is the most controversial aspect of the plan 6 months from now when she hasn't decided it yet, and let's let everyone weigh in. And I understand that it's a function of the news, but in some ways, I am looking forward to the day where that is not it's no longer news, and it's no longer is she doing the right thing for herself and for as a symbol of all of humanity and what's riding on each and every one of our shoulders, depending on which constituencies and communities we reflect. That'll be the day when, for example, I think the phrasing is to quote Bella Abzug, when a mediocre woman has access to the same opportunities that men and others routinely have access to. When the day comes that we no longer have to be the most exceptional, the most balanced, the most put together, the most, checking all the boxes in order to count as strong leaders and in order to be seen as full professionals in our field, that is when we will be at the point of our work being a little bit more complete. So I think for me, being an elected official is just a unique experience. It is a privilege for sure, and it's a job that is contradictory in some ways. Anyone in this room who is a resident of Boston is qualified to be mayor of Boston, right? Anyone who is a voter and resident of Boston can put your name on the ballot, collect signatures, and then run for office. And that is the beauty of our democracy. So I am perfectly interchangeable with anyone in this room or any resident of our city in that way. But whoever puts their name on the ballot and ends up running and ends up getting elected at any level of office, once your name is on the ballot, in some ways, at that point, you really can't be substituted for the other names that could have been there and were not on there, right? It's hard to just delegate your voting responsibilities as a senator to some random person or even a deputy or very skilled chief of staff. And so in this role, I'm around to make the decisions day or night, whether the family is out of town on our 1-week annual vacation or any other day of the year. And with the leave, of course, it's been doing the job a little bit differently, doing it much more through remote and virtual participation for the first couple of weeks. And then I got called to Congress, did my thing, and then the next day was my 6-week postpartum sign-off appointment with the doctor to say I was ready to go back to work.
I remember interviewing you a month after you got elected, and you wanted to stay involved in your kid's life. I mean, maybe you would do school pickup, maybe be home for dinner a couple times a week. So have you been able to do that as mayor?
For the most part, I mean, it really ebbs and flows, and certain times of the year are a little bit crazier than others. March always is a little bit crazier, but okay, pardon me if I end up with spit up all over myself. But in general, I try to do school pickup, at least once or twice a week. I try to involve the kids. The boys are 7 and 10 now, and so there's a complicated system of planning for what days they have activities and are too busy to hang out with me, and what days I have activities, and on the precious days where our time is together after school, really making the most of that. So we have some ways that they're now getting involved in the planning for the family too. And it's hectic and it's crazy, but I hope they're growing up just with the instinctual sense that women and moms can do anything, but that boys have a role in that too.
We have a really good question from the audience along the same lines. So as a mom, how do you talk to your kids about not always being able to be everywhere they ask you to be?
Yeah, this one is really hard because They're also changing so quickly in their understanding. They were both born after I was already serving on the council. Blaze was born, he's 10 now. He was born in my very first year on the council. Cass was born in my first year serving as council president. And so some of this, I think they knew the word meeting before any baby shouldn't be able to speak the word meeting. So they've known what it means to come around with me to a lot of things. They know every playground in the city, and they're used to kind of saying, what's on the docket this weekend? Is it a parade? Is it this or that? And at this age, though, they're now expressing their opinions about whether they want to be part of it or not. And also for their own activities, whether they want me at this basketball game or that one. And so it's, I think maybe this room might understand there's always a layer of constant guilt, right? Of, am I doing my job to my fullest? Am I taking care of the kids to the fullest? Is it okay to leave this pile of laundry for an extra couple days, just not folded, sitting there? And even with the support of extended family, even with the privileges in being able to set my own schedule, it is really hard. And I hope that, just like Linda was saying, the flow between letting yourself experience all the parts of your identity at once strengthens each part of yourself, and therefore strengthens what you can contribute into the world as that whole person. And it's not always fun in every minute, especially when they're young, but I know that it gives me this unshakable determination that we are going to make it easier for families everywhere to thrive and to have what they need, and also a sense of urgency that we can't let each class of students, each family watch their kids grow up in an instant and not be delivering what they need. And I see another incredible working mom in the house. Our Attorney General is here. Thank you, General Campbell.
So last question for me. So Mira is only a couple months old. So this question might sound premature. But when she's in her 20s, 30s, 40s, how do you want the world to be different or better for working moms?
Well, in some ways, she's such a laid back and easy baby. I'm worried that means as a teenager, I will have karma come back to me.
Almost certainly true.
So who knows? But I hope first and foremost that she will have felt like she got to experience all that the world has to offer through this city, and that it was easy, and that her classmates and friends and everyone felt that it was taken for granted that you could be part of a family and have anything that you wanted to experience for your growth and development available to you in the city. I also, this is not a political event, but where do we start on what the White House will feel like and look like in 20, 30 years? The daily onslaught, it feels, of Boston being under attack for the core industries that make up our economy, research and life sciences and healthcare, and the communities that power that economy across every facet of our identities. She was born a week before inauguration, and so the whole pregnancy, I was expecting a different outcome for what policies would feel like, what politics would feel like right now. And we have a lot of fighting to do to ensure that by the time she is in these seats, that stress and that sense of having to claw back what was so sacrificed for and fought for in generations past, that will be a memory, and that they will be on to the next set of battles for sure, but ones that are not so basic and intrinsic to who we are.
Well, Mary Ruth, this has been a great conversation. I thought it was hard to nurse in my office, but no, nursing on stage, this is incredible. And Mira's asleep now. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Mayor Wu, our working mom-in-chief.
Thank you, Shirley.
We'll be back with Say More's live show on working mothers after this short break. Next up, I'll be sharing my conversation with Attorney General Andrea Campbell on reining in big tech. Stay with us. Welcome back to Say More. Andrea Campbell is the first working mom to hold the title of AG in Massachusetts. And she's been using her power to work on something near and dear to a lot of parents, taking on tech giants and the ways they target children. I asked A.G. Campbell why one of her biggest priorities is suing social media companies like TikTok, Meta, and Instagram.
So a couple of reasons. One, this is an issue that everyone should care about. I think technology, emerging technology, and ensuring, one, that it is not only safe, but also used responsibly, and that there are some type of accountability when that is not the case, is in effect, should be important to all of us, whether you have kids or not, because it's going to affect this generation and the generations to come. So I, along with several other AGs, and frankly, this is probably the only area, sadly, where you have Republicans and Democrats working together. Over 40 states came together to file this lawsuit against TikTok and Meta and Instagram to hold these companies accountable for the harms that they are causing to our young people via these platforms. And what harms am I talking about? Uptick in depression, anxiety, self-harm, especially for young girls. And so we are looking to hold them accountable with this lawsuit. And while it's multi-state, we're playing a critical role through my office, but also a team that is dedicated to privacy and protection, also responsible technology in all of its forms. We also have a youth advisory council, which is inaugural to the office, so young people informing the work. And I probably just passed over that and I shouldn't have, but when you think about a youth advisory council informing the work, the office has been around for centuries. And never have we had a young people or a group of young people informing the work we do, even though it affects them, which I thought was really important to change that whole dynamic and to empower them. So they are a part of this. And the thing I want to stress is the companies will say, well, it's the young person's responsibility or the parent's responsibility. And I say, no, that's BS. And why is that? They design the apps. They design the technology. Only they have the power, the ability, and access to go behind the technology to change algorithms, to change the design of those systems so they are more supportive of our young people, more user-friendly, and most importantly, the accountability tools that they have, like age verification, prolonged use so that does not happen, all the things they say are safe, that actually happens. That's not a parent's responsibility. A young person, good luck trying to fix the app from your phone. You just can't do that. And so this is critical work that we hope everyone will follow, and we'll keep folks updated as we continue the lawsuits, which we know can take a long time, but we're still actively working on those even today.
I mean, this must be on some level personal for you. I mean, your boys are 5 and 7, maybe not quite, certainly they probably don't have their own cell phones, but they probably are familiar with technology or iPads and the allure of these apps. So talk about that, why, about your own experiences motivating you.
So I am a mom of 2 beautiful boys. So I often say everything I do is informed by not just being AG, but also being a wife and also being a mom and a God-fearing one. And I stress that because, thank you, because I'm praying every day, all day. It's just really important these days. Just saying. I'm up real early, praying for all of us. It used to be 6, now it feels like it's 5:45, 4:45. It's dark out. But I stress that everything I do, I don't go into the office and leave that part of my identity or another part of my identity of who I am. I would hope everyone in this room brings their full self into their workplace to inform everything they do. And if you cannot do that, then you better find a new workplace, because I think it's so important to inform the solutions and what we prioritize. That Youth Advisory Council would not have happened if I didn't say I want young people informing what we do. We can't be talking about social media platforms, and I'm looking around the room, and we're all adults. And some of us don't even know what the newest platform even is. We can't, of course, do the work of saying we're going to prioritize young people in our strategic plan, not have young people inform it, but most importantly, not attach action steps to what we're going to do to help them. So social media is one significant place where we're doing just that. And through other parts of the work too, prioritizing everything having to do with our young people, with the hopes that we do it in collaboration with parents, school administrators, educators, those in our healthcare institutions, and so much more.
So besides legal action against these companies, the other tool in your toolbox is legislation. And you made headlines in January when you filed a bill that would ban cell phone use during school hours.
Yeah, some people are like, I don't really know. Just hold on that.
So what made you decide to take this approach?
It's the only approach, frankly. It's like with seatbelts. For a while, people were like, don't you tell me what to do with my seatbelt in my car. Excuse me. Nothing cool about putting on a seatbelt. And yet, government, along with public health officials, so many stakeholders had to step up and say, we're doing what's necessary to protect our people. Here, it is incumbent upon adults to do what's necessary to protect our kids. The onus shouldn't be on the kids. And so some of the pushback, and I'll say that pushback in a loving way, because it's been not overwhelming, it's actually been thoughtful, of people like, well, if there is some public safety issue at school, what about having a phone in the hands of young people? And I say, I understand that, but it's our job to keep them safe, not for them to suddenly be public safety officials, educators, working with folks to reduce bullying or harassment that they're seeing on their phones. That's our jobs. The legislation does three critical things. One is it says we have to ban cell phones, not in some 9 to 5 or 8 to 3. There's a few school districts that have policies, but we have to make it standard. And the easiest way is to say bell to bell, when you're in school, you should be learning. You should not be on your phone. Educators should not be the cell phone police, which we're seeing in some school districts. This is why the Teachers Association and so many others are supporting us in this legislation. School administrators, the same. In addition to that, you need uniformity. And so if we make it crystal clear, it's bell to bell, you're not confused, no school district is confused. And we would actually give resources through grants, which we're able to do to help our school districts. The second is mandating that school districts develop a curriculum. What are the benefits of social media? And we have heard there are some benefits: connection, networks, being able to find a job, those in our LGBTQ plus community, which frankly right now, critical that they have a network on a platform. Get that, totally understand that, critical benefits. Then there are also the downsides that I mentioned earlier. There should be a curriculum, an active curriculum to explain that, like we're doing in the sports betting context and other contexts. And then lastly, it also pulls in our litigation from our social media companies into this legislation. We're telling social media companies, we're not waiting for a lawsuit that can take a really long time. We're asking you, through our state legislation, to make changes, and we can actually get them to make the changes that we want via a lawsuit, which will take too long, through state legislation, which means that if all of us voice our support for the Study Act to our elected representatives, it gives us an opportunity to not only push this to passage really quickly, but to then use this legislation to hold social media companies accountable for how we want them to be accountable. So for example, they say they have age verification. Young people can work around that if they don't change that. Prolonged use, they say they can, stop that. We want to make sure that actually works. TikTok in particular, the algorithm looks very different in China. If a young girl searches for something around health, beauty, you get healthy, something healthy in response, something encouraging. You can do a similar search right here on TikTok, you get completely opposite, negative, even eating disorders, other things that are not helpful. TikTok in China actually has restrictions on when and how long you can use it. Why wasn't that introduced the same way here in this country? So we're pushing these companies to answer some questions that parents often can't ask on their own directly with the companies. But this really empowers you, if you engage with your elected officials on the Study Act, to say, what's the status of this? I want to voice my support. It will be a big help in being able to hold them accountable while not looking to get rid of them because we know of some of the benefits they bring.
So one of the things I appreciate about your approach to holding big tech accountable is that it sends a powerful message to parents and kids that we're not in this fight alone. And I'll be honest, if I had more energy, maybe my kids wouldn't be on their cell phones watching YouTube. I would be there, quote unquote, entertaining them or doing something with them. But I'm tired. I'm a working mom. You get it. So if you succeed with your lawsuits and your legislation, and you're truly able to rein in technology, the harms of technology, what does this world look like for us?
First of all, I love the question in the frame, because I often get, if you're successful as AG, what would you have done? What would you have accomplished? I think we all think about this legacy. And I don't frequently think about that. I got work to do. We're really busy. And as you all know, we are really busy. There's a lot going on. I will just stress everything for kids. Because I remember, I grew up down the street, very poor, with very little monetarily. And as many folks in this room know my story, all of my biological parents are deceased. All of my biological grandparents are deceased. Have an older brother now incarcerated, another loved one incarcerated, twin brother dies while in the custody of a prison system. So the list of just the trauma. But what gives me such joy, and that's my middle name, so I carry that everywhere I go. And what sustains me is my faith, and also just being around good human beings and good people, is this idea that there is power that each of us has to do something, and we're here for some purpose. And if mine truly is to be the AG of everybody, to work hard on your behalf, and never to humble myself in this experience, it is a blessing to be your AG. But it would mean nothing that I was the first Black woman, the first person maybe with that type of background to have this seat in this position if I did nothing with it, if I didn't push the envelope in terms of what was possible and what we could get done. And at the end of the day, what is that? It is breaking cycles of poverty, criminalization, mediocrity, whatever the cycle is you want to break for your kids and their kids' kids or somebody else's kids. That's what it's about for me. And I know I've started that with my two boys, and I want to do the same for everyone else's kid. Regardless of your demographic, where you come from, as parents, we're all struggling in different ways to do the best for our kids, to make sure they can thrive and prosper and reach their dreams and accomplish them. And so for me, it's really pushing the envelope on what I can use this office for to help kids and young people to break those cycles. And that drives me every single day. And if anything, I have to remind myself why I do the work, because in the midst of all this noise, you can forget your why, and you're just going about your day looking fabulous, but you're still like, where am I going? Look fabulous and then be like, okay, I'm going somewhere with some intention and some purpose. And I never forget that.
That was Andrea Campbell, Attorney General for the state of Massachusetts. We will link to more information from the Boston Globe's Working Mothers Summit in our show notes. I want to thank the Globe's events team for making this all happen. Say More is a production of the Boston Globe. Today's episode was produced by Anna Kusmer. Our editor is Jim Dow. Our engineer is Zuzair Ahmed. If you like the show, please follow us and leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can email us at saymore@globe.com. I'm Shirley Leung. Thanks for listening.